what are we looking at right now? Just don't think. Cold open. No one knows you. No one knows anything about this. What is this thing right now that is confronting the viewer who knows nothing about what they're about to see?
So this is a photograph that I took of a sculpture that I made out of aluminum and powder coat of a attribute of a CryptoPunk. So this is
In this episode, we talked to sculpturist Mark Graeffe. We discussed CryptoPunks, CryptoPunk attributes. We discussed Bitcoin punks, Ordinals. We discussed time as a concept in general, longevity of blockchain and of sculptures. And we had a very nice time.
Yeah, my name is Mark Graeffe, and I love Web3, and this is what I'm doing, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
That was amazing.
Perfect.
Are you kidding me? One take.
This is the pipe attribute, and it's in a setting that I just kind of found nice. It was on loan over Christmas. I took a photo, got a lot of engagement for it. I'd been planning to make an NFT about this pipe, maybe more on the nose of like Cici Nepal pipe, but I decided to do something a little bit more to my taste. So what's kind of going on in the photograph in general is there's a lot of different art forms, from older technique to obviously the most modern, which would be mine, and yeah, there's just a lot of interplay. And if you can see in the by the left vase on the left is actually the very first piece of sculpture that I made when I was a kid that survived. It's a little wire man. So it goes from kind of my beginning to where I am now to bold to basically bear in death to traditional art and encyclopedias to kind of to modern art. And if you zoom in on the light, you can actually see that the pipe is propped up by a couple books, but it's the history of art. So there's a little there's a tiny allusion to that as well. I'm not sure if the picture that you have is going to be high res enough to see it, but it's there.
There's the wire guy. First of all, this is an amazing move because I'm sort of like looking at a picture like, all right, I can see there's a skull, but like it's like there's some even elements of the composition that are impossible to really see if you're. So I love that. And then this I can't see, so this is like out of reach for me. But yeah, overall, when I look at this, I'm just very taken with, and we, are obviously a pretty big, like, you can see the default punks in the background, so easy for us to seize on the pipe. But I think the composition of the photo is also beautiful, and even more so when you describe it. I can't help but notice the skull, which to me, you mentioned it's a time-focused narrative about your life, but also just time in general. But then you have this skull, which makes quite a strong statement about, well, I don't know why the skull. It's kind of disconcerting to me.
I mean, it's beginning to end, right? So it's the whole thing. If you kind of follow the line from the first sculpture through my sculpture to the skull, it's linear also. So it's just everyone. There's nothing to be afraid of about skulls. Everyone dies, and that's okay.
Still don't get it. That's where we're going. Oh my goodness! It also reminds me of a sort of, and this is something Piv taught me, a sort of vanitas type composition, which is basically when you have a still life, but there's a skull in it. Was this part of the like here's one. Where's this style of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, they're icons, it's imagery, and it's kind of difficult to always open up and explain exactly what everything means about your artwork, because at that point, then sometimes it almost dies on the vine. Mm-hmm. So it's usually best to kind of let people to stumble through it. But there's a little bit more there than meets the eye. I mean, even to the glass vase, the crystal vase, which is permanent yet always moving.
So it's
left middle shelf.
Oh, nice. Very cool. Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I'm a obsessive where for me it's always just like more and more and more. It always makes me want more, which is why it's so great to have you on this pod. I'm going to push. I want more. Dove wants less. Piv is Rembrandt. Welcome to the Capsule 21 podcast. This is a podcast about art, technology, and in particular the achievement of true immortality through the Ethereum blockchain. The best way to do that, or is it? But we grapple with that question, and we're joined by an amazing guest today, Mark Graeffe, who Piv met in Paris. So very kind of beautiful romantic meeting surrounding NFT Paris, but someone who has his roots in America and it has gone global in more ways than one, is featured now at the LACMA for his amazing physical manifestations of punk attributes, but also the serious topics of basically, the juxtaposition of pop art and death is essentially when I look at this image. My co-hosts are Piv and Dovetail, who also have opinions about immortality and death. And this is going to be an amazing conversation. We got the screen here. We're going to be pulling up art. We're going to be talking punks. We're going to be talking sculpture. And we're going to be talking immortality because I want to achieve it. Something people say, which drives me crazy, is people say, well, there's one thing you can be sure of. You're going to die. And I always say, really? You can be sure of that? Like 100% certain? My position is there's nothing you can be sure of. How you feeling today, Dove? Can you be sure you're going to die?
I am sure I'm going to die, and I am having an existential crisis about it. Is that a good opening?
Right now? There's no time for that. We're on a podcast.
Right now, I'm going through it.
And Piv, can you be certain of anything?
Well, isn't it debt and taxes that you're sure of? So you're only sure of taxes.
Exactly.
Except taxes. I don't know anymore. It's how many of the degens out here are squared up.
I get you eventually. Well, Piv lives in a I'm not going to dox him in terms of, I'm not going to welfare state dox him, but I'm sure the welfare state where he is requires even more taxes. That's at least the stereotype. I actually don't know if that's true, but I agree. If you make money ETH, you should sell some of the ETH because you are going to be taxed on the value of the ETH at the time that you got it. So if you hold the ETH and the ETH goes down, well, anyway, I don't have to turn this into a tax.
We too often go down a tax rabbit hole in these pods.
No, let's not.
Yeah, please no.
Okay, so let's get back into it and maybe talk about something a little bit more, not just because it's like related to like the recent LACMA news, but also because it's just like more. I mean, it's a zombie, so it's dead again. But to me, in this photo, there's no skull in it, right? So already I'm feeling like a little more sense of relief. And this to me, just and obviously this is like your most recent work, or no? Place this work in your timeline.
So in the timeline, there was the Passion Project, which is the orange side. And that was the first sculpture, which I number sculpture 0. After I completed that one, I received 10 commissions within a week. And Cosmo was actually the first commission. So the first in the series. So this is the very first sculpture. And the photograph of it was actually, it was kind of, I had to find a studio because Cosmo needed a high quality shot of it. So I had a archival shot taken of the CryptoPunk to submit to LACMA at the end of last year to see if they would be interested in accepting it with the other digital art that they're planning on accepting. And yeah, I guess they liked it because it's now in the permanent collection of LACMA.
I think it's quite. And so this is digital art.
This is a physical sculpture of Cosmo, and it's made out of aluminum cubes that are individually powder coated and then assembled together with a network of threaded rods and bolts and things of that nature. So on the outside, all you see is kind of perfect pixels, but even inside, it's there's a lot going on. It's a mess in there.
Very cool. And so, but I was just saying that, like, when I said I realized this is a sculpture, but you mentioned it was sort of accepted to LACMA as part of like it's seen as sort of like it's going to be exhibited as a companion to the sort of digital art, or where does this fit into the broader move they made here?
So they accepted, I think, 22 digital works, but they also accepted some physical works, including this sculpture. So they have this sculpture in their possession. I'm not sure necessarily how they're going to be displaying anything. I know that in the donation, there were no strings for anything being on permanent display. I mean, at the very least, obviously, they're going to have an exhibition. So the date on that is to be determined, but I'm sure there's a lot of work for them to do with getting the right screens, getting the right lighting, having various types of objects between being digital and some physical, and there's also some photographs and some other things that went along with that. You can't necessarily display a physical piece next to digital work because it requires different lighting and
Right.
everything else.
It's way more complicated than people think it is.
Yeah, it really is.
But
So
that's
I
pretty
mean,
cool.
I don't.
It's very exciting.
It is. So I mean, I don't anticipate them being ready for a show for several months. So I'm just kind of waiting in the wings.
So when we're thinking about, because I think as a punk lover, I think there is just something, and this is true of all your work. Putting this up is sort of a more kind of dramatic and beautiful like setting maybe than that one for the photo, but like there's just something that's like very satisfying to me about looking at this, where you see the blocks, where you see the real world kind of simplified and tamed into the pixel grid. Because it's one thing to tame an image into the pixel grid that's just like in Photoshop or wherever it is, Illustrator for the true artist around it, but to tame the real world and to make the pixel grid line up like this and look clean, even though there's chaos beyond it. That's what when I look at this, that's why it feels kind of satisfying to me. Like finally someone said, okay, I'm going to bring you the order that you desire. It's clean and yet very dirty, as you mentioned, not dirty, but very complicated behind the scenes. What is the weight of one of these blocks?
The weight of the individual blocks is somewhere like a pound or so for a solid cube. So I use both solid and hollow extrusions, and then I machine them down to perfect size. So actually, the first set of sculptures, including Cosmos, you'll see a lot more imperfections in it because it was cut aluminum, and I was trying to figure out how to manage this process and get these pieces out. And then after the first set of sculptures, I decided I wanted to really up the quality and went to machine squaring it. So you can, if you look closely at the photo, you can of Cosmo, you can kind of see some unevenness in the pixel grid, whereas in the my more modern sculptures, everything's just like perfectly clean.
Completely aligned.
Have you considered using tungsten? This is kind of
I
a
have.
crypto meme.
Yeah, I have actually. I priced out a full-size punk in tungsten just for fun. So I was talking to, I think it's like Midwest. I can't remember the name exactly, but it's Midwest something. They're the people who've been supplying all the tungsten cubes. But the cost is somewhere around $120,000 in material.
I think if I can pitch an idea, one tungsten cube powder coated in brown, and that's the mole. So it's just one. It only requires one. Maybe
well, if you're looking for a tungsten cube.
Oh wow!
Boom.
I didn't know you had that.
Quite heavy, yeah. That's the thing, and this was
Wow.
part of my like getting into crypto starter thing when I last year decided to go lose my mind. Unlike a lot of the NFTs that I bought then, this at least I think has some residual value. It's quite heavy, but
You need to paint it brown, and then you have the mole.
well, it's not just that simple. It's a lot harder than people think it is, actually. Because let me ask this question. Actually, you know this. Dove, maybe we should put some of your art up. Dove has done some physicals, and what Dove always says to me, and what makes sense to me, and also just looking at this, color, right, is a challenge because the CryptoPunks have very defined colors. There's 24 by 24 pixels, so there's not that many colors. The most famous CryptoPunk has the most colors of a famous CryptoPunk is 14 colors on one CryptoPunk, right?
Mm-hmm.
So not that hard to just, but then in reality, you can't. How do you think about color when it comes to fidelity to the original, or just in general, kind of creating the effect that you want? Given that you sort of with the squares at least know how many pixels the cigarette is, so you can kind of use that many squares, cubes, but you can't necessarily do the same with color. I don't know. Can you?
Hex code to paint. It is not 1-to-1.
Yeah, and then actually when you talk about powder coating, it's RAL. So there's a ton of commercially available colors, but some may not always be perfect. So actually, I struggled with the highlight on Cosmo. It's a little bit lighter than I would like.
The forehead
and actually,
shine.
Yeah, and this was I actually powder coated. I'd finished Cosmo well over a year ago, and I didn't like the color. It was too dark. His skin was too dark green. So I actually ended up taking it all apart, repowder coating it to get a better skin tone, and putting it back together. I mean, I try to match as closely as possible. And then also, what are you matching off of? We all display these on screens, and my laptop shows a very different color than my cell phone or my monitor.
Yep.
So kind of the tack that I went to is, I feel like most people have iPhones these days, so I try to match off of the brightest setting on an iPhone.
Smart.
Wow.
At least optically.
I am addicted to when there is just some specific satisfying. I love being satisfied. That is a very satisfying answer in terms of like, all right, well, it's super complicated. It's not a perfect way to do it, but here's what I do. I match the brightest iPhone. And I also love that too, because it sidesteps the, one thing that's nice on an iPhone. I don't know people out there with colors and stuff, but like when you take a screenshot on an iPhone, to me, it always looks like the thing it is. But when I take a screenshot of my computer, the color profile, some weird stuff is going on. So, so I think that is amazing. So then, I guess in the dream world, you could actually, I mean, not really, because this isn't how life works or whatever, but you could sort of exhibit them together. If you achieved your goal and you were showing an iPhone-esque thing, you would put it next to it and it would look, in conversation with in the same world, maybe. Or on planet Earth, you can't, even if you were super fastidious with the colors, you would never actually have it look like that. Or, could it match an iPhone next to it?
Well, I think you can get pretty close. For instance, I'm really interested in making something monumental sized, like a 40-foot tall sculpture of a CryptoPunk put in Miami. And in an event like that, I think if I'm having any difficulty in matching color, I'm going to have colors custom made. The only issue with that is that it's expensive, especially if you're doing just a one-off color for a pixel or two in a sculpture, and you also end up with a 50-pound batch, which is more than a lifetime supply.
By the way, that raises the question: how big is this Cosimo Medici sculpture?
It's 3.5 feet tall, roughly.
Oh, okay. So it's bigger than I thought it was, just from the picture. That's cool.
Yeah,
No,
and the pipe
I have
is
the same thing. I always have this desire to I want to do it as big as possible. Give me the largest canvas I can have, or just make it huge.
I mean, part of the reason why I want to get involved in public works and really large scale is because I know it seems like everyone knows what a CryptoPunk is because the circles that we hang out in.
Yeah.
But the truth is that the vast majority of the population is still not paying any attention. So by making something really monumental, and as a public work, you're going to have lots of people just double take, like, what is that?
Mm-hmm.
Why would someone make this? What don't I understand? What's going on here? And then they kind of saunter up. They might see that it's a CryptoPunk, and I kind of, in my mind, have an idea of it being displayed on a tablet where people can kind of scroll through the history of it and see the sales prices, and that'll blow people's minds. Absolutely, that this image sold for millions of dollars, and just having those questions and having people walk just question what's going on here. I believe that it's going to take people down a rabbit hole and surely will eventually change someone's life.
Let me
so
ask
by
you,
making go ahead.
I was going to say, let me ask you a question. You do not own a CryptoPunk, is that correct?
No.
So
ever since I
none of us do either. We're all ashamed of it.
None of us do.
I live in shame.
My question to you is what is your personal interest in promulgating the CryptoPunk image? Why is the CryptoPunk so important to you that you want to make it this public art thing and educate people and make people know about it?
I think it's a symbol of the Web3 ethos, period. Mm-hmm. CryptoPunk owners obviously tied up a lot of capital in the CryptoPunks, mm-hmm. which means that they're not only heavily invested in cryptocurrency in general, but it's also a statement of their belief in the space. And when I first got into crypto, I looked at these things. What are they? Why are they trading for $20,000, or why are they trading for or whatever it was at the time? Maybe it was like $17,000 or $18,000.
Right.
And I didn't get it, but as soon as I started spending a little time in the space, I quickly understood. And when I became interested in crypto, I basically hung out in the CryptoPunks chat Discord, in the CryptoPunks Discord for hours and hours a day.
I did a lot of lurking in there.
Dub is our resident guy who knows about the we have not been in there, but Dub has. We beg him to know.
I think I spent maybe like a month and a half in the Discord before I even said anything, just reading, because it was like the best and brightest minds, and this was early in 21, and it seemed to be the center of crypto. Like CryptoPunks seemed to be kingmakers. They were they're builders in the space. They're very intelligent, like on the whole, and it was a lot to aspire to.
Right. It's kind of like the pinnacle of Web3 is CryptoPunks.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's the roots of it. I mean, to me, and this is why I just think it's so interesting when you talk about the monumental thing, because how to separate what are we talking about? Like, what is crypto? Because like if you do something monumental with, and even your sculptures, right? Like these are, you are doing something different to it. Like I don't know, I'm not like an art historian by trade. I know you might think I am, but like pop art, like it's like there's the Campbell soup can, and then there's the Campbell soup can in the painting, and those are kind of like different things. And so when we're talking about like a monumental CryptoPunk, we are treating the CryptoPunk as your, it's part of art. It's a component of an art thing versus showing it itself. But then the question being like, is it even possible to look at a CryptoPunk itself? Because how can you look at that without the context of how much money they sell for? And then you're immediately like, what am I looking at? This doesn't make any sense. And so you immediately get captivated there. So it's really, I think, basically impossible to engage with the CryptoPunk phenomenon without, creating something, somewhat alien in a way. And that's why I think what you're talking about is, kind of an extreme version of that in a way. And I think it's really very, very, very cool. And, I think for me, I think another thing I'll just say from my personal perspective about the CryptoPunks that I think is really special, which people don't care about now really, but is that there's 10,000 of them, like what? There's 10, just like on the most literal level as a computer man myself, you look at the CryptoPunk montage of 100 by 100 CryptoPunks, you look at that, you say, wow, like this is bigness right here, like bigness, like that's serious. And this is something that, Piv really emphasized to me, how much the architect Rem Koolhaas was really saying like bigness is an architectural thing in of itself. And so I think that, that was my first taste of, everything copied it, whatever, but that's inherent in the project was this bigness, and then you're doing a different style of bigness, which I think is amazing. But if you look at computer digital art, it's just like that type of bigness where it's enforced by the blockchain stuff. I think it's very cool, and I also, and we all sort of join. We're all spreading the punk thing and getting nothing for it. No, we're getting some stuff, but we don't own a punk yet. If you could own a punk, if you could kill someone and take that, no, that's a bad way to say it. If you could own any punk,
commandeer one.
Sorry?
If I could commandeer a punk?
Yes, for
which would it be?
A day.
So
any for as long as you want for your life. Yes, which punk you could take one, because
oh man.
Let's go to Babylon. All right, sorry, we're not going to try to like make this another thing about Babylon, but what's cool about this is we can kind of drill in, and if it doesn't exist, we can tell you. So just throw out some attributes that you. Sure. No pressure. This is like what breakfast? What eating the attributes for breakfast?
Well, I mean, to give some perspective, the reason I chose the orange side is because I scoured the entire collection when I was starting this, and that's my personal grail. So the orange side with classic shades. However, if I were to commandeer a punk for myself, like many others, you'd want to try to choose one in your likeness. So if I were to rock a CryptoPunk forever, you start with jovial, so you got to click off smile, and then I really love Shadowbeard, which is an underrepresented, or underappreciated trait, but it's also because I always rock a short crop beard.
Although it got a little long, I was reading through your feed. It got a little long, but we'll allow it. It's fine. Or didn't it? You asked like, how do I get a trim in Paris or something like this? Maybe that was for your hair.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's for everything. I got everything trimmed. I showed up a mess. Like everything else, I show up last minute and underprepared, but it all worked out and came together. So So the punk's going to be Smile Shadowbeard, and it's going to be one of two. It's going to be the one with the mohawk, which is very punk, and that comes with an earring, which isn't my style, but we'll love it just all the same. And then there's also the cowboy eye patch, Smile Shadowbeard. So it's between one of those two punks, and the one of them is available for sale for 300 ETH. And
I'm sure you could get it for less. Come on, in this market.
I don't know. I mean, maybe it's been for sale for a while for 300 ETH. And then the other was available, and I actually tried to get some loans to buy it, and then OTC bought it, and I said, oh great, well it's going to come on the market again. And then I can't remember the who bought it now, but they're like a vault. They collect stuff as part of a collection. So,
all right, well, I'm
so I
this
don't think it's
in
going to
the,
come out for sale.
in the chat, and I'm also going to put this in the thing. We made this functionality where you can make a poster. So this is like the next best thing to owning a crypto. As everyone knows, the next best thing to owning a CryptoPunk is you can own an image of several CryptoPunks
You can write
together. So
as a collage.
I'm going to hold on to this as one of your ideal ones. That's great. And then okay, so let's go to so where would you look? Because I saw Forever Punks retweeted your photo, and he has been a guest of the pod and is a friend of the pod. He has a website. There's Larva Labs. Where do you go when you're looking at a CryptoPunk?
It depends if I'm hunting for something in particular or traits. I'll probably hop on Forever. If I'm like just casually looking at punks, it's on the CryptoPunks website. All
right, let's jump on Forever. Let's pump Forever a little bit, friend of the pod, and let's really quickly look up, and then we can plot. So it is a cowboy.
Did you see Forever Meebit pop up?
I did. Yeah, his brother actually.
Yeah. His younger brother has started an account called Forever Meebits. I like that. I think that's cool. Meebits don't get enough love. I've been Meeb pilled lately. I've been looking at them a lot.
Do you have one yet?
I don't, but I'm thinking about it. But I haven't really just been buying NFTs at all lately. I'm scared.
Okay, this is done.
Yeah, okay. So I did buy a Meebit. So I'm a big believer. Larva Labs sold, but I was a big believer in Larva Labs in general, and I wanted exposure. So I did buy a Meebit, and it was especially important when they started token gating the conversation with CryptoPunks.
Yes. Yeah.
So you can get in with the Meebit into the CryptoPunk Discord.
At least you used to, and then they segmented it to Punks Lounge, and but I believe it does give you token access to the alpha channel. So there's kind of like the basic channel that's available to anyone, but there's not a lot of meaningful discourse in there. But in the alpha channel, there are a lot of punks that chat in there as well.
The punk thing calls it the alpha channel. Like, I feel like that's like not very CryptoPunks alpha, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah,
they should be more wholesome.
People had been posting alpha in there anyways, and then they were like, there's a lot of people who are brand new to the space who are lurking in here and reading the alpha from the punks chat and using that as trading advice. But a lot of the alpha that was getting shared was not very good, or was shaky at best, or was maybe kind of being, pushed by the members who knew that there were a lot of newbies looking at it. And so they said, like, let's clean this up a little bit. Let's make it hidden so we're not influencing what newbies are investing in.
They should keep it away from me. I can't be trusted. So switching gears for just a moment, we have this, which is a different meme, a different NFT. This is the nouns, the noggles, as they are called. I've been very interested. We did a podcast on nouns. I've been very interested in nouns as, to me, representing kind of the other option, because you have CryptoPunks, that went the way it did. Maybe whatever, it's, who knows how that went from where it started. Which was, this identity thing. And nouns is like the other option where it's like, okay, now you are not buying your little PFP, you're buying something else. You're buying into a broader meme, and there's money to promote that meme more directly. So you don't get paid when you make a CryptoPunk sculpture, unless maybe you do, but you don't maybe get paid at the outset. But with nouns, because it's a DAO that funds building cool stuff, maybe you do. So nouns, what is nouns in your head? Where do you fit it in? And how did these noggles, which look very cool, by the way, how did this fit into your overall meme?
So as I mentioned earlier, like part of my mission is to kind of is onboarding, right? It's to get people to look around the space and try to figure it out for themselves, and nouns are kind of an extension of that. So it's another Web3 thing that I'm happy to make. So I like kind of blurring the line between the physical and digital. And this came about by Big Shoddy Works actually sent me a message, and he said, "Hey, you should check out the Nouns Prop House, where they're actually giving out grants to artists to do anything nounish." And he goes, "I think this might be something that would be a perfect fit for you." So I hopped on there and I submitted a proposal to the Prop House as their very first round, and this is the image that I actually submitted in the proposal. So I built it to go ahead with and submit a proposal.
You already built it when you did the proposal?
Yeah. So
Ah!
it was a slam dunk for them. Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
This was after I received the first 10 commissions, and I'm working on them, and I over ordered all the aluminum, figuring that I'd like to have some stuff on stock or in stock to turn things around faster. So I just went ahead and made it and submitted the proposal. They funded it, and then I completed it. So I got an ETH to make them, and the great thing about the grants from the nouns from the prop house is there are no strings attached. So it's you have your project, they fund it, and then you can kind of you own it. You do whatever you want with it.
So you installed it though here, or that's just one place. I guess you've taken a lot of your stuff all around the world, but is there the expectation that you'll put it somewhere prominent? Or I guess there's no strings. That's the whole point. No strings.
There were no strings. I'd actually I'd asked if anyone knew of any parks that they had strings in where we could actually install this permanently as a public work. But in the end, I took this up to New York City, a place called Beta Works, and I was going to exhibit a CryptoPunk, but I brought this along with me because I wanted to take some photographs of this sculpture in New York City. And John Borthwick, or
Borthwick, yeah,
can't remember his last name.
I know Beta Works.
Yeah, he saw them and he's like, "Actually, we're doing something with the nouns. Like someone was making like really high end sunglasses."
Oh yeah.
Sorry, I just lost my my Bluetooth, but. So he's like, "Actually, just display it here." And then as the show ended, he's like, "How much is it?" So I sold them to him. So they're currently in beta works right now.
Wow. So that's a beautiful thing. You get it, you sell it. That's great.
I should go to beta works.
And it's actually an outdoor sculpture.
An altar sculpture?
An outdoor. I mean, it's to be put outdoor.
Yeah, everything that I made, like when I started with the concept, everything was centered around quality. Was on like the 500-year horizon. Like I want these things to last forever. So I chose aluminum because it's anti-corrosive; it doesn't rust. I chose powder coating because it's extremely durable, especially in all sorts of elements, from the hottest place on Earth to the coldest place on Earth. It'll be fine. And it's also UV resistant, so it's very resistant to fading. So every material I chose was with the mindset that I want these things to be able to live outdoors, indefinitely.
That is beautiful because we like timelessness at Capsule 21. The name Capsule 21 is a reference to an Andy Warhol thing with his time capsule 21. There's also the famous, and unfortunately they didn't make it to forever. The taxes, or one of the ones got them, called Forever 21. That's a brand. And then there was Century 21. So time has been an interest of ours. And, for me, when I came to Ethereum, it was always like, wow, like this can't be deleted in an easy way, unlike when you put it on AWS or something. But ultimately, in the end, the digital, good luck. Whereas the physical, like there are still mountains around from a really long time ago. So physical is probably a better way to do it in the end, even though I'm like a programmer guy. And so, I just think that is a fascinating component because, you could say, well, a physical sculpture is not so blockchain because it's like a physical thing. At the same time, it's the ultimate blockchain because it lasts longer than any real blockchain, and that's a huge reason to have the blockchain. Now, maybe it's not as available as the blockchain, so it's to physically look at it. Any photo of it could be destroyed, but still pretty good. So, tell me a little bit, just in more greater depth about that. Like you mentioned, 500 years. Let's get really big. If you had, call it $10 million to make this same noun sculpture, what would you do if you wanted to make it last the longest, and how long could it last? Like 500 is good, but like $10 million, how long could you go? Or is 500 the limit?
I mean, I guess really what you do is you'd build it and then set up a trust for the nouns or for the sculpture in order to maintain it in the future, and just go through, repeating conservation acts over and over again. So if you want to really make it last forever, that would be the way to do it, because invariably, like, something's going to happen. A bird's going to fly into it and there'll be like feathers stuck, and you have to have someone go up on a crane and clean it off. Or even that could scratch a panel. So if we're talking like really large scale, I think I'd be moving away from actual blocks, and instead using either stainless steel or aluminum sheet, powder coating those and kind of affixing them to some sort of backing, where you lay it in place like it's tongue and groove.
Tongue and groove.
Like a wood floor. You know how wood floors get put together?
Yes. Now I just never knew that name for it. That's a
kind of like a dovetail.
Wow. So you would
almost like
okay.
A dovetail. It's another type of wood joint.
So woodcraft.com wants to know your location. Nope. So that's fascinating because, I guess that's the beauty of the blocks, is they have just all this complexity when it comes to the little crack and the alignment and everything. So you kind of sacrifice durability. What about and I know this probably sounds just incredibly naive and vulgar at the same time, but what about like something like Mount Rushmore, right? Like carved into stone. Could that work? It's not lasting? I guess they probably have to clean it with a crane.
There's this thing that I've been obsessed with for the last like longer than 5. I learned about it when I was in high school, and I'm 24, 25 now. So I've known about this for like 7 years. It's this thing called the clock of the long now. And it's a clock.
Long noun? The noun's got to that too?
The long now. N-O-W.
Long now, yeah.
Clock of the long now, which is a physical clock that's built to tell the time for the next 10,000 years. So it is built in a way that will withstand weather conditions, will withstand the extinction of humanity, will withstand, solar flares and EMPs and all of these things.
Cool.
And it's this giant foundation. Like you said, like you have to set up a grant for these kinds of things to make things last such a long time. So yeah, it's this giant freaking clock that will accurately keep time for the next 10,000 years. And I think Jeff Bezos has become involved recently in helping to fund this project.
Yeah, but they didn't actually build it. And here, I'm putting it up. He said, why build a giant clock? Question. Answer. Well, just so people ask this question. Okay, bye.
Well, like you said, like it does require a lot of freaking money to build things that last such an insanely long time. But this started in the 90s, the idea to do this, and now in 2023 they still haven't built it yet because the undertaking is so monumental. But so ever since I learned about this, I've been kind of obsessed with this idea of things lasting a really long time. So it's cool to see people approach that in sculpture, and then like learning about on-chain storage of things is very fascinating for me in that way too, because my personal opinion is that your aluminum sculpture will outlast Ethereum. Like technologies move much faster than physical materials do. So I think there's a strong chance that
500 years. If Ethereum is around in 500 years, I'm rich.
Right.
All my punk derivatives are through the moon.
So I think that your sculpture will outlast CryptoPunks. And I love that idea of things lasting longer than the blockchain, because people always talk about how the blockchain is forever, the blockchain can never go down, it's infinite, it's permanent. But it's,
I don't want to make fun, by the way. I think it's bad to be a hater, but this also I think is rather humorous to me. The Long Now Foundation is a nonprofit established in 01996.
Yeah, because
like they added the padding 0.
They're planning for 10,000 years.
That's very very fun.
Yeah, so that's fascinating. I really like the idea that you've thought about how to make it last a long time. That's like something that's personally very, very interesting to me.
So I just wanted to talk a little bit, and I'm not. These thoughts aren't really well. They're kind of half baked. So when you talk about sculpture lasting longer than Ethereum, yeah, Ethereum may die off. However, I believe everything on it's going to be archived. So whatever the next change is.
I agree.
So, and for all chains to go down, we're talking about some sort of like solar flare that takes out all infrastructure and all computing in the States, and then we have bigger problems.
I think it's less serious. I think there's just someone's going to make something better. 500 years ago, you couldn't even conceive of Ethereum. So in 200 years, there's going to be something much better to use. Ethereum is like this ancient technology. No, why would we keep that running?
What was gas?
Yeah.
Yeah, calling it gas is actually, I'm glad they did that, because now it's like really normal people can be like, you got to get the gas. Yeah, I know.
In 200 years, people are going to be like, you use gas? What is gas?
No, I mean, I think Ethereum, look, don't get me wrong. I started out loving Ethereum, then I went to hating it or whatever, and just whatever. But the idea behind it, which is a computer system, a database that you don't have to own or that no other person owns, that is pretty, that's pretty sick, because that's how it is in the physical world. You don't, some people own stuff, but you can find something, you just create the thing. And there's not some administrator who gets to go and delete it. I guess they do. Actually, the state can just take all your physical stuff. So, and the state can just kill you. So it's not perfect, but I think the idea behind it, maybe there'll be a better version of it, but the idea behind it kind of came out once, and now the idea is here. And I think it's pretty sweet. So, I think at the same time, the archival aspect is challenging for me, just because if you think about various interaction. This thing about the beautiful system is you can put something out there and someone can interact with your contract and not just necessarily even read what it is, but then see. So other Ethereum things. So nouns, other NFTs, other things on Ethereum. Presumably, then no offense, but presumably you don't own a punk, you probably don't own a noun. We don't own nouns either. Okay, it's fine. What? You own a Meebit. What, when it comes to Ethereum and, what you want to onboard people into in terms of okay, here's actually the magic of this stuff. It's part of the culture is over here is the magic of this stuff, but that you can't directly access because it's token gated now. Mm-hmm. But how do you kind of bring someone alive to, just what are some cool projects or cool things within Ethereum that you think just bring it alive to you, to someone that you were, bringing on into the game, or other cool things?
It's less about the projects than what cryptocurrency is inherently, right? So, it's about self-custody. It's you have complete control of your own assets. It's permissionless, so you can send anything you want anywhere in the world in an instant, or near an instant, without any gatekeepers in between. You can't have, you're free from tyranny of government or any other tyranny. It's if you believe in those things, crypto is going to stay. Whether it's Ethereum or Bitcoin or whatever comes next, whatever better tech comes. That's the magic. And then there are all sorts of other side projects that happen in it. You have Nouns, which is a great fund, which is generous and supports all sorts of causes. In the future, there's going to be tons of people using crypto, kind of like GoFundMe, I believe. And we're seeing that start for funding earthquakes in Turkey or whatever else people are interested in funding. It's also a way to connect with people from all over the world. So when you find a like interest, you can support things together. Look at us now. We're scattered all over the place, and we're all brought together through this funny thing that Victala created.
It's great. It's funny just hearing you talk about this. There's just a real passion that I can hear. And obviously, you know, it's not like that. There's a real passion. And so for me, like, I wonder, like, do you have like a backstory in your personal life? Like for me personally, part of what makes me passionate is in my other business where BetaWorks was involved. It was a company called Genius, which is a lyrics website, and Google was copying the lyrics from, anyway, it's a whole thing. We sued them. And it really made me nervous and not so fond of like big tech, because they're going to come and just, they're killers basically, and they have to be, and whatever, it's fine. But like, that was kind of like my backstory that gave me some passion in terms of like, no, seriously, it's good to have permissionlessness. Seriously, like if they're going to come for you next, those people at Google, do you have any kind of like, because I feel like for many people who are just like, what do you mean? I swipe my credit card, I use whatever big tech, I love them, you know, like what do you have any kind of like personal, you know, just hearing your passion, it kind of made me want to ask this question.
I mean, you know, when you ask it, like, I don't know if I'd ever considered my background as part of the reason why I'm so committed to it. But you know, you see travesties happen all over the world, right? Where people just get, you know, the government rug pulls them, something terrible happens, war here or there, that you don't have access to money, their bank runs, you can't get any money. Like, all those things are terrible. But if you know, look, you know, deep in my history, what might make a motivation, and I hadn't really thought about it before, but you know, my grandmother was a Holocaust survivor. She lost absolutely everything. She was displaced out of her village, and you know, actually, she was late to the rendezvous point where the Nazis were supposedly going to be putting them all on the train. But lateness runs in my family, and it always has. And they spent an extra hour or so cleaning their house, knowing that they would never return to it. And when they got to the rendezvous point, the Germans had machine gunned down everyone in the village, but they're out of bullets. So they put them on a train, and they and they moved them on. And then also, when you look at you know, when my grandmother met her husband, he was in the Soviet army, and he liberated her village in Poland at the end of World War II. And he defected, never to speak to anyone in his family again. Because if you speak to you know, everyone, it was a government job. If you speak to anyone who's defected, you are in serious jeopardy of severe punishment yourself, gulag, losing your job, you know, whatever else. So I mean, if you look back kind of through my history, yeah, there's some threads there that can make me passionate about it, for sure.
Wow, I mean, I think that's such like a vivid picture and telling. I mean, I think it's really like if you look at, you know, when you are in extremis, when people are in extremis, when there's really not like business as usual, like what true touch points, you know, what true like things can really bring that to life. Like there's, you know, you do have to kind of think about, because even with like something like COVID, which at the time, when it first happened, I thought, oh my God, like this is the end of business as usual. And of course, crypto had its various things there, but like still, like to really know when things are important, it might be 10, 50 years, you know, 60 years apart or whatever, but 100 years apart. But then, you know, things can, yeah, it can really get to a not business as usual type situation, to say the least. And then you kind of need to think, okay, what is going to be contributing to, you know, a potential, you know, way out or recovery. So yeah, that's really interesting. I appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, what about you guys, Piv and Dove? Not to you know, place you in, you know, following that sort of way of
story. Go ahead.
yeah, no, but just like I've never asked is kind of what I'm saying, and it sort of yielded an interesting kind of introspection, and like I because for me, I'm always just like, God, like it's like so animating to me, because like if you've ever been in a lawsuit with $1 billion company, like it's just whew. So I should probably ask more questions. It's kind of like what, maybe I should be a more introspective and more question asking person.
What's the question specifically?
Question is, has anything in your personal life or remembrance or past kind of animated you with like, okay, why this Web3 stuff is good, beyond just looking at like the facts of the matter and saying, well, because of the facts of the details of this Web3 thing, it's good. But like, I'm, you know, here's like a past thing. Like when I sued Google, like your version of suing Google.
Yeah, what's my version of suing Google? That's a good question. I don't know that I have. I'm not a very strongly Web3 aligned person. To be totally frank. I don't have very much of a libertarian streak in me. I'm kind of the Norman you described, who's just like Yeah, I swipe my credit card and it works, and it's great.
Yeah, but you also know the
Um,
most about punks or whatever. So how did that happen, buddy? Dove is a complicated guy.
I like being on the burgeoning. I like that. Let me try to phrase this in a way that makes sense and I don't sound stupid. I noticed that there's a lot of people who really disliked crypto and NFTs, and I wanted to understand why they didn't like crypto and NFTs in a way that was not just because, oh, it's cringe and the people who are into it are a weirdo tech guy. Like, I wanted to understand what is this thing that I am not supposed to like, or that I'm being told is cringe for being interested in. Um, so then I was like, okay, like let's learn about it. But then when you learn about it, you realize that it's really not that cringe. There are certainly some there is some cringe in the space. I can't, I can't cover that up. There's some parts of the space that I
Yeah, I
really
would say it's
don't like.
more cringe than the critics think it is, but it's also better in
Yeah.
other ways than.
Yeah, especially as someone who is politically not. I won't get specific like politics, but I'm not a libertarian, and so that stuff kind of always makes me go like, okay, like all right, tech guys. But yeah, I like being on the bleeding edge of things that aren't popular yet or like aren't accepted, but don't really have a good reason to be. So I just like being where the new stuff is happening. And I feel like in contemporary art, there's not a lot of like new thought. But in Web3, there's a lot of NFT artists with air quotes who are pushing boundaries and doing really interesting things. So this is where the weirdos are hanging out, and I think you should always try to hang out with the weirdos. So for me, it's not really a political thing; it's a cultural. It's a cultural thing.
Yeah, people definitely are funny, which is something I've been interested in. It's I
You're
think being
interested in
funny is the
people who are
most
funny.
important thing.
Yeah.
And I think NFT people are pretty funny. Sorry, I want to hear from you, Pip, but I'm scrolling around. After you said it, I just can't unsee it. Like, do you see how perfect this is? You got to remake this, dude. Sorry, I know it sucks, but like, just come on, like for LACMA.
I know.
Look at this.
I talked to Cosmo about making a new sculpture, like a perfectly clean one for LACMA. But it would be impossible in the timeline to get it to LACMA by the end of last year, which needed to be done for tax purposes to get the deal done. So
Again, the taxes. Pib's right. The taxes come into play.
A CryptoPunks market kind of thing. You have the V1 and you consider doing the V2.
I mean, this to me is just like a stunning. Okay, last question on this, and I want to hear from Piv because I'm just looking at this stunning image. You mentioned colors. I'm sorry, I have to ask. The smoke. The smoke famously is semi-transparent. So if you're using your iPhone test, it matters what the background is behind the smoke. Obviously, if it's the iconic blue background, you would have a blue smoke here, which you don't have. So is this a paradox?
No, it's the blue background. I mean, it comes off as more white just in the photo. It's more off white in person, but it's very kind of nuanced. And the smoke was a little bit out of these colors was probably the most difficult to match. But yeah, I don't know. You're right. I mean, it is semi-transparent. I'd also considered using like a polymer, which gets like a frosted frosted effect when you machine it. But I decided to just stick with aluminum in this case. I think close enough.
I love it. I love it. All right, Piv, your decentralization backstory, because Piv's actually been doing this a lot longer than any of us.
Well, I think there is a story, but it's very, very trivial compared to Mark's story. When I was young, we had this kind of, they call it a savings book here. I don't know if you have something similar, but it's like a very small thing of saving, and your grandma gives you a little money and you put it on a bank, you write it down. And so it was meant to save very, very, very small amounts of money, but you do it for like 18 years from you're born till till you're ready to marry. And I think it's something happened with the interests by the time I got older, but in the end, nothing was left. It all went to the bank to manage the account and to. So I remember that, and that's something that that made me very unhappy with banks. That's indeed.
I
So
mean,
you
it's
save all
unfortunate.
your young life, these little amounts of money, and then there's nothing left. So it's very trivial, but I think this is the basis of being interested in Bitcoin. I think so, yes.
Yeah, I don't think
I-
that's trivial at all. I mean, it just speaks to the importance of self custody. And when someone else has your money, whether it's account churning, I mean that also happened to my grandmother who had a sizable amount of money, but the brokers just kept churning and churning and churning her accounts to get commissions based on all the sales, and they bled her dry too. That was the other grandmother.
That's insane. I mean,
So
that's
so,
a yeah.
Piv, you can feel good that you don't have the most trivial story here. I will take the crown for most trivial reason for being into Web3.
You just like being punk, man.
Yeah, no, but you're also younger, Dub, not to young dox you, so you have plenty of time for bad things to happen
12
to you.
years old, so I do keep my whatever.
Youth docs. So, okay, let's now shift to the main topic of the episode, which, as always, is Ordinals. Back to Ordinals, not the main topic. I'm just sort of playing on the controversy. We're doing Ordinals again. And I say it only because I love controversy. I hate drama. I secretly love drama, and I openly love controversy.
I don't think it's so secret.
People are saying Ordinals, because they're on Bitcoin, will last long. This is back to I'm tying it back. It will last longer because Bitcoin is the original one. Also, some people are confused by Ordinals and fear them. Dove is not one of those people. He's young, he has a plastic mind. Piv and I, what do you think of Ordinals, Mark?
I mean, generally speaking, ordinals are fine. It's nice that Bitcoin is being able to mimic, what Ethereum can do and has been doing, and that's fine. But that's a different question than what do you think about Bitcoin punks, whatever else, or where the value in that?
An owner.
Yeah. Careful what you say. No. Dove is purely cynically owning that. No, Dove thinks the ethos of the Bitcoin punk is the true. So I guess
No, that's not.
Yeah. What is what do you think of Bitcoin punks then? You've teased us a little bit there with that.
It's derivatives often go to zero. And that's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
So I would, if I owned a Bitcoin punk, I'd be looking at the market and seeing when the pump is, and as soon as it starts taking a negative downturn, I'd dump it, because you can buy it lower if you want it back.
I have done the same thing. I minted 4 on mint day. I was lucky enough to mint them, and I've sold 3 of them already. And the 4th one is listed, but no one wants to buy it.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Wait, so derivatives always go to zero and pay taxes? But yes, they probably go to zero
That's so cool.
More quickly.
This image is very epic. I like this a lot.
Yeah. So that is Fujio's CryptoPunk. He was in the first batch of commissions, and so I went from my studio. I loaded the punk on a wagon, and I rode it through town. I found a location that I liked. I placed it down, and I just sat and I waited. And I waited for a moment. And this is actually probably the favorite photograph that I've taken. And I'll be releasing more of the photography in the coming months. I've been building a collection for a half now.
That's excellent. The way that the lighting hits it is really pleasant. Because you would think at first glance, it's photoshopped, and then whoa, shit, the lighting is just perfect. So it's not; it's real. And
this boy was down the block on his bike, and he just saw the CryptoPunk sticking out from around the corner, and he was curious. So he biked all the way up the block, and gave a slow turn in front of it. And as he turned back down to head back to I guess his mom and his sister, he just reached out and gave it a gentle touch. And this is the moment that I captured, and I just love it. I mean, to me, it embodies childhood curiosity.
And he thought, "Is this a Fortnite?
Yeah, is this Minecraft?
Is this a V1?" Also, shout out to it being like nice out. That's when I look at this photo. Another thing I take away, like we live in dark winter right now. I don't know, depending on where you are, the LACMA's better. But yeah, I just think that's a beautiful. Sorry, that's not where I wanted to go.
Yeah, I'm in Pennsylvania.
Beautiful.
That was taken, I think, in the summer. I remember being pretty hot. Or no, it was getting closer to. It was spring. It must have been spring because the boy's wearing a jacket. I was hot because I was toting around a giant sculpture that weighed like 8 pounds and like pulling it to the city.
Yeah.
Just looking for a spot.
Is also a great one. Although seeing it from this angle, I am again reminded about what you said about like the lining the pixels up perfectly and everything. So that new technique, overall execution in terms of your new standard, highest standard is the cigarette and the pipe. Is there anything else that we can look at that is at the highest standard of the contemporary Mark?
Yeah, if you go to the link in my bio, it goes to Instagram. That's a complete portfolio of all my work, but you also see a pair of 3D glasses. But I'm currently working on four commissions in this style of full size.
I will be countercultural and say that I like it when the blocks are misaligned.
Oh my
There might
god!
be
No, and that's
of
totally
a
fine.
Rubik's cube.
No, hipster. No. Okay, fine. It's fine. Rubik's cube. It's fine.
No, I had the same thought. I mean, there's something about when the raking light hits it, and you really can see kind of the materials that I like. So I'm not saying that I'm never going to go back to that type of style. Something maybe a little bit less perfect, less aligned.
Do you know about an artist named Pro Rock who is making CryptoPunks out of concrete?
Yeah, I do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a good friend of mine. I like his too. They aren't perfect pixel for pixel. I think there's something nice when there's like a little bit of misalignment when you're bringing things from digital to physical. It's like, you know, keeping a little bit of the physical. They would in Japan they would call this wabi sabi, the perfection and the imperfection.
This is way better than Twitter. Sorry, I'm just loving your Instagram right now.
Yeah, I like the work too. I was actually looking at it maybe like a year ago, maybe when it was first starting, and I was disappointed I didn't get the physical with it. So I think
you should DM Pro Rock.
Yeah, he'd probably make it happen.
Yeah, he will. I can't speak for him, but I'll speak for him and say he would make that happen. By the way, right now on your Instagram, before you powder coat these are very similar to Piv's art, the default punks.
Mhm.
No, the next link down, the concrete punks. Yeah, these. Yeah. These are sick. I want to pump my friend's stuff.
Yeah, this is actually
Pro Rock, very talented.
Right up the alley. Huh.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like the 8-ball. I like the 8-ball. But also, when you mentioned default punks, like, what about this? I didn't even realize this.
Yeah,
oh, you were saying this. I was like, okay, this is good. This is amazing.
That aren't powder coated yet. They look like Piv's default punks.
Mm.
Yeah, that's actually Snoop Dogg's CryptoPunk.
Oh wow, nice.
What is and how many share that silhouette? Because what you could do is you could sort of mass produce. This one's free. You could mass produce because okay, here, let me show you. Just to get into the game here for a second. Whatever, this Caps 21 project. Okay, so you have the default punks, right? So you can go CryptoPunks with matching silhouette. So why don't we do like 400? Okay. Or obviously that one. Let's do 300. Okay, let's do 200. This is exhausting. Let's do 100. Get some interesting. Okay, so suppose you wanted to, make a lot of money, a ton of money really, really fast. If you look at this, you can see that if you start out with this shape in terms of the raw aluminum, then you can then make 171 of this shape and then just color them differently, and they'll all be different real punks. So this is a way of truly mass producing, and of course, if you go completely crazy and do this one, this is 496 punks can be made with different colorings of this core aluminum silhouette. So this is just, Capsule 21 default punk lore driven concepts for and I'm not saying you're necessarily trying to create hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these, but if you were and you wanted to do it with as little as possible variation in the form, this collection could help you. Basically, the research embodied herein.
So I mean,
So,
I'm not sure if I could get away with selling 100 of these at $15,000 a piece, like instantly. So I'm probably less into the mass production side of things, and more.
you color them though. You color them differently. No one would have to know they started from the same base. Like no one would know.
I understand. So like,
but even then,
basically how my career has gone so far is I made the first one, then I received commission. So people are basically wanting these as busts for themselves. The pieces that I made on my own accord were the individual attributes, which I think those apply more broadly. So when you talk about making, going off the base and then adding a cigarette and a mohawk, really that's only going to probably apply to like 15 punks or something, or maybe more with those two attributes. So then the question is, which one of those people is actually going to want it? So if you have like a pigtail, are you going to want that one with a mohawk? So I'm probably less inclined to make them make sense, but I've already engineered all the cubes for pretty much any particular style that I need to make. I have 16 different patterns that I engineered, and then really it's just about doing the engineering sketch and ordering the right parts and then building it out.
Interesting. So I say, good.
The wild blonde doesn't seem so easy either.
The what?
The wild blonde hair.
Yeah, I noticed that one of the pixels was diagonally attached. There's no lateral attachment.
Yeah, it's so those parts were welded prior to powder coating. You can't weld after powder coating coating something because you'll scorch the finish. So yeah, there were some, I think 3 individual pieces or 4 individual pieces that had welds.
Yeah, that's sick.
And that was a learning process too. It did not dawn on me that you lose material when you weld things together. So it fits more tightly and isn't as nicely aligned as some of the other the other spots. So I'd be leaving more material the next time I need to do a weld job. A little bit more experimentation. So
in terms of the sort of commission flow and the idea there, I guess I hadn't realized like people commission for their. So do you like do a token gate? Are you token gating now? Like, can I commission? Can someone commission a punk they don't own, and if they sell the punk, they have to sell it. This is Web 2 meets physicality kind of thing. Web 3.
If you wanted to commission a punk, I would probably track down the owner and then make sure that it's cool, and then they would probably invariably say yes, and then we go ahead and make it. But I try to do things in a respectful manner. So when I selected the orange side, that's what I did. I scoured the entire collection. I looked for the one that I would consider a personal grail, and then I hunted down the owner and reached out and kind of let him know what I was doing and asked permission if I could use the likeness of his CryptoPunk. Because the last thing that you want to do is upset anyone unnecessarily.
Right.
I think very well said.
That's a good point. People get very caught up in like it's not actually copyright, like the rights don't apply. But it's like at the end of the day, like I think it's more about, is this going to upset this person, and do I need to do that, or can I just ask them a question and like figure it out?
Yeah, even if you're going to upset someone, at least make sure it's necessary. That's how I look at that. Why unnecessarily do it? Well,
go to Twitter. Will you do a search for me?
Sure.
Do @dovetail with the 0 and the 2 eyes.
Now you're going to see my recent searches.
Yep. But then afterwards you have to put a search query in. So you have to type out the.
Yeah, I'm on your profile.
No,
yes. So you're talking about from or whatever. Yeah, I know about from.
It doesn't work that way on Twitter. You have to do the thing.
No, it works. It works.
Okay, just type I. No, the sorry, EYE.
And then we lost Mark.
And then the painting. Yeah, I think we
And
did
then
too
the
smart.
painting. Oh, wow. Very nice.
Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you. I think your video cut out though.
Yeah, I went to go get some water.
Okay, no worries. But yeah, I think if I could have anything as a physical, I would want just the eye. I really enjoy just the 4 pixels of the punk eye. I think it's emblematic of the whole 10K. It's like it's only 3 colors, but it's so recognizable. 3 colors, 4 pixels, you instantly know that's a CryptoPunk.
The next attributes that I'm actually looking at making are clown eyes. So
Oh,
I
nice.
agree. I think it would just be something fun to have in your house
Yeah.
on a bookshelf, something nice
I
and small.
I
It's
have this
instantly
painting up on my wall right now, and I think it's my favorite thing on my wall.
nice. I mean, they're instantly recognizable to anyone in the space, but
Mhm.
everyone's always going to have a question who doesn't know, but then they'll recognize, and it's like a complete gateway conversation
Yeah.
piece.
What are the other attributes then, I guess? What would be the one that I guess the gold chain skull. But yeah, this is the beauty of the
Just get
okay.
3 pixels as a sculpture. That's kind of
So
cool.
yeah, you have to weld those. Now that I know that, if anyone says, "Oh, the gold chain's an easy sculpture," I'll just say, "Listen, there's a whole podcast episode. I'm not going to get into it with you. Here's the link." Okay, so now we are coming to a point in the show, and I could do this podcast forever. Like this is amazing to me, but I want to be respectful of the people who've been waiting for this, if there are people. So we have this thing, Babylon, which is like our game world metaverse thing. That's what you're looking at here, and it is centered around this idea of being able to explore dungeons and buy books, and the books are made of the pages that are the CryptoPunk attributes. So they're books, they're made of the pages, and Babylon is a very special library because it holds every single possible book, every single possible punk that could ever be made and still follows the rules. And so you can mint these things, and there's a theme, there's an exhibition basically every week. And we love it when the guest of the podcast can offer us some advice on what would be best for people in terms of an evocative, exhibition that has like maybe a cute name or something like this. I think the cowboy eye patch thing, we've already done cowboy eye mask. So I think this particular one, although I love it, and I'm glad that we looked at it and I downloaded the poster for this specific purpose of the theme, this might not work. But hearing you talk about the orange side, which we haven't done a woman theme in a week, but I don't know. Like, how should we take this? Where can we go with this? Like, you are going to shape people's, they're going to get to mint. And by the way, just so we're clear on the whole like thing with the permission thing, like no one's allowed to mint the original punks, right? Like this is just new ones that are possible. So where can we take this? This doesn't have to be your grail. It can be like what might people be interested in, or what might people not be interested in, and then they start like, ooh, I'm actually really interested in that.
I'm not sure if I really followed the question. And we talk about making the real punks. I mean, this was obviously all originally Larva Labs. It was like kind of an open license to make whatever you want underneath $100,000 per year. So really what they didn't want, like, and all they really cared about was people trying to license with like Nike and make shirts, like millions and millions of shirts, or Puma or whatever. And I feel like that was their major concern because they wanted to have hold over the general IP, but they're happy for artists to do what artists do. So the question is, you want guidance? Go ahead.
Well, sorry, sorry, real quick. Just let me ask this question. I explained this terribly, and Dove can maybe help. But just now, you said something that's really interesting to me about like the 100K thing. As you understand it, there's a current thing that Yuga did. Does the current thing, as you understand it, I don't really know, because you mentioned the Nike thing. Can you currently, as a punk holder, go to Nike and say, "Let's produce 10 million shirts with this punk on it, and I'm going to make a ton of money"? Is that allowable under that license? That's an interesting hypothetical. I don't know.
So I'm not completely up to speed on all the details of the licensing, but from my recollection is they released a statement that CryptoPunk owners will have all the same rights that Bored Apes do. So essentially the answer to that question is yes. However, I'm not sure if the official language has been prepared by their attorneys yet. So the official policy might not be out there, but I do believe maybe Noah tweeted about it.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. So Dub, why don't you explain what I was terrible at doing?
To more succinctly explain the question that we're asking, we built this tool that allows you to see all 30 million possible CryptoPunks. So there's only 10K, right? But if you follow the exact same rules for trait combinations that Matt and John came up with, if you extrapolated that, there's like 31 million that are possible with every type of combination. Like, there's no such thing as rarity. It's like you can have anything. So we built this website that allows you to look at those. And every week, we allow people to mint from them. So it's all 30 million possible minus the 10K that exist in the original collection. Those ones are like off limits. Can't touch those. What we like to do is have people decide, this week we're only going to allow you to mint a hoodie with nerd glasses and a frown. And then it can be any punk that has those 3 traits in combination with other stuff also. So it can be any skin tone, with a cigarette, with a vape, with an earring, like whatever, this kind of thing. So it would be cool for you to choose what basic like grouping of traits should people be able to mint from. You maybe want to say this week people can mint Orange Side Classic Shades. And then you'll see a bunch of these Babylon books being minted that have Orange Side and
So
Classic.
we're gonna go with Orange Side Rosy Cheeks.
Orange Side Rosy Cheeks.
Boom.
It's a good combo. I like rosy cheeks are underrated. People don't really talk about them very often.
Very cool.
Speaking of Orange Side, by the way, during this conversation, my Bitcoin Punk, my 4th one, sold.
Hey,
How much?
3 ETH
Oh my god.
for the tiara earring gold chain. Kind of a
If
grail.
only I had minted that.
Kind of a grail, but happy to let it go because I'd rather have 3 ETH than a Bitcoin Punk. My conviction in derivatives.
Bitter. I hate you now. I hate you.
Seething.
So this is the. So what do you think about this? Is this a good representation? This is like in image form, kind of the. You could narrow it down further. Like you could say like, oh, no cigarettes or something. I guess no, you would not say no cigarettes though because of the sculpture. So maybe this is good.
no clown nose.
No clown nose.
No
All
clown
right. Let's do it. No clown nose. Okay, now we're talking. Now let's get the poster here.
And no VR.
There we go. Sorry?
No VR.
Well, I
No
guess
V-
it's possible anyway. Oh no, it's not. It's
Yeah, let's do no VR. I mean, that's actually a little bit tricky in our system, but can be done.
Yeah, you have to choosing everything except VR as a possibility. Don't forget to choose none, also, by the way.
Always like my issue. Eye patch.
So yeah, but anyway, if you haven't seen this before, this is our very cool custom built like UI just to browse every possible punk that could ever exist. And you have like a lot of these expansion. Well, no hate to Pozvar/Jeremy's expansion punks. He did a very good job with those. But a lot of people make these kind of like punk makers, and they allow all these really wacky trait combos that don't look right. They don't look like canonical. And we're kind of proud of getting like a statistical accurate way of exactly what Matt and John would have had.
yeah, like the smile on size of a femme punk doesn't look right.
Right. So yeah, we don't allow a female punk to smile in our thing. So these are like canonical rule. Yeah.
We don't allow a female punk to smile.
Yeah.
Hey, we didn't choose the rules. It was not the rules I would have chosen if I were.
We can blame Matt and John for not allowing women to be happy. This is
Welding goggles and nerd glasses are kind of similar.
A little bit. Orange Side welding goggles is one of my favorite trait combos.
Yeah, that's sweet. Okay, so now we have our new poster. Okay, how about this? Does this look like good punks?
Be happy to own any one of them.
Hell yeah. Okay, cool.
Nice.
This is, excuse me, this is great. And all right, well, yeah, we will update the rules and do all the stuff. And yeah, this is a great suggestion. This is our first orange side theme, and no VR, I think, is a fascinating touch. Like, people out there, oh, I love VR, it's the meme tray. It's like, well, can't have it. Okay, sorry. Maybe in the future things will change, but for now, no thanks. So okay, so this is amazing. I mean, now let's just check Twitch real quick. Let's see who's out there. Okay, we got Bonner. Love this guy. Okay, Bonner says CryptoPunks have more clearly defined rights.
Where am I selling the? I don't understand the question.
Your punk.
Oh, my Bitcoin punk.
Yes.
I've sold them on Emblem Vault, so I sold them on Ethereum.
We got some great questions in here. I haven't even been looking at any of this stuff. Okay, we got Bonner.
But don't LOL at me because I'm out and I made a profit, and therefore I'm the smartest guy in the room.
No, Dub's amazing. I remember Dub was basically telling me, you got to buy some of these, and I was like, get away from me. Like, I don't know if I said that, but I fear the unknown. Who else? Oh yeah, Postfire in the chat from a while ago. Mail it to me from my mole. That would be a good trait, by the way. You ever think about that, Mark? Just the mole?
We already did this. We had this conversation earlier.
We did? Wait, we had this conversation?
Yes.
Yeah, well, first rule of public speaking, you gotta say it.
Cube.
Oh, you literally, right, the mole. Wow. Imagine what it's like to be me, if you think that's funny. Like, I just like, what's going on? Okay. I literally have the mole with me. Okay. Cool. All right. Well, I think we're in good shape. What am I missing, Piv? What am I missing, Dove? I really could do this forever, but like, what is the main core of what I'm missing?
Mark, do you want to plug anything? Do you have anywhere that you are going to be, or things that you are trying to sell, or social media profiles to follow if you want to give them a shout out?
Yeah. Twitter at GMI_studio, and on Instagram is my portfolio and kind of process. That's Mark Graeffe. That link's also on my my bio on Twitter to help you get there, but it goes all the way back to the beginning of when I decided to cast aluminum cubes, which was too imprecise, actually, as it were. So then I ended up going to extrusion, but it goes all the way back to the beginning where I was making the molds, to at the factory, to engineering sketches of the first ones. There's just a lot of process on there. And if anyone ever has any questions, my DMs are always open. I'm always happy to chat about anything.
Awesome.
Love it. And check out the gram is what I would say, because I was like scouring the Twitter, because I'm like a Web3 is Twitter based, I guess, but like really the gram, I would say Mark Graeffe on Instagram. You can see the full story. Like, look at this.
Like, process on Instagram.
Like, look at this. Like, that's the magic hour right there. If I'm not mistaken, I have a certain eye for this kind of thing, and I'd say that's the magic hour. Piv?
You told me that your first NFT were mooncats, and you've also made.
I forgot about this. Go, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Is it somewhere?
It's no, it's still in a box, so it's not yet been made. But
okay.
Yeah, I've on my agenda is like part of my Web3 journey was like really when I knew that I wanted to be in was like all that hysteria around mooncats when they were rediscovered, and it was a really exciting day for me, and that was the first day I was scrambling around to try to get Ethereum. So for me, that kind of like that day, I'd say is like my first day in ETH, or first real day in crypto, and I've always looked at them kind of fondly. So I am planning on making a mooncat. I have all the powder coated pieces finished here in my studio. I just need to clear my plate and get the commissions out first. And then after that, I'll be making the Mooncat with the ultimate goal of donating it to my local pediatrics hospital. Because as we wheel these things around in town, like kids are just naturally drawn to them.
Yeah.
They just love them. Everyone thinks first Minecraft, and maybe they'll figure it out later. It doesn't so much matter, but they get happy when they see it. And so I think it'd be, both my kids were born in this hospital. My son, when he was born, had to go straight to the NICU and get surgery, and they took great care of him, and he's got no complications, going to live a perfectly normal life. But it's a nice way to kind of pay back to the hospital, and then also give the kids a bright spot to look at when they have to go.
Great.
Well,
That's exciting. I love
in the
that.
Mooncat accessories, are you going to be making those parts of the?
I'm not a huge fan of the accessories, actually. I mean, it's cool to dress them up, and like I like that whole shtick. But to have them as the main display when you're looking through the collection, I think maybe it was a misstep. It muddied things. It would have been nice to toggle them on to see what people were into, but I think it made it tough for Mooncats to survive or succeed.
Yeah, no, I hear that. I love the concept of accessorizing, and then it's like people are, oh, that idea sounds similar to Mooncat accessories, and then that's how you know you're like on to something bad, basically. Like no one likes the Mooncat one, so stay away from that. Okay, yeah, awesome. I mean that's a great story. I don't own a Mooncat. I own a Crypto Kitty, but maybe you can own both. I'm not sure if my wallet is compatible with owning both. I will read up on that. Does MetaMask support both? But now, okay, so this is great. Fantastic. Before we go, Dovetail, would you please summarize this episode for the opening card on the podcast?
In this episode, we talked to sculpturist Mark. Sorry, let me retake this.
Yeah, keep going.
I was
Unlimited
looking at
takes.
the name, and I was like, I don't want to.
It's Graeffe.
Graeffe.
Yeah,
In this
great.
episode, we talked to sculpturist Mark Graeffe.
Sorry, Dov. You started too close to the end of the previous word. Now start.
We discussed CryptoPunks, CryptoPunk attributes. We discussed Bitcoin punks, Ordinals. We discussed time as a concept in general, longevity of blockchain and of sculptures, and we had a very nice time. That's the wrap up.
Quick soundbite, Mark. Like just quick sign off. Just quick boom for the beginning. Like, and there you I don't know.
What does that mean?
Just say anything. Just say anything for the opening card. I'll edit it. I'll fix it in post. Don't worry. No pressure.
If you're gonna fix it in post, maybe I'll think about it and get you something good. My name is Mark Graeffe, and I love Web3, and this is what I'm doing, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
That was amazing.
Perfect.
Are you kidding me? One take. Now we really have to. I made that up to ask you because we haven't done that in the past. The one time we did this, but now I think that's amazing to get That's amazing. That's a great stage setting to hear it from
Kind of
you.
like I think maybe I'm the only one who's young enough to remember this, but it used to be like, this is Disney Channel, and I'm whatever, and I'm Selena Gomez, and then draw the thing.
Everyone wants a drop. That was
This
what
is
we would
Disney
always.
Channel, and you're watching Camp Laslo.
Yeah. On the Capsule 21 podcast. Okay, cool. Fantastic. Any final memes here? Because we can. Let's finally look at Twitch. I'm just gonna say thank you all. Parting shots.
My parting shot is that hopefully one day we can get some Capsule 21 art in a Mark Graeffe sculpture. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah.
Have some more experimental non-canon punk stuff.
Wow. Okay, that's a good. All right. It's episode. All right, I'm gonna say it's episode 27. By episode 127, we're gonna have you back. On 127, we're going to see. Okay, that's our rule with guests. Every 100 episodes, we have to have them. Anyway, we'll see. We would love to be a part of anything you're doing in the future. This was a great honor and just a lot of fun. And so thank you for joining us, Mark. This has been the Capsule 21 podcast on Middlemarch. My co-hosts are Piv and Dovetail. Our guest has been the amazing Mark Graeffe. And if you're watching this, you're next. Peace.